We will start our webinar in 1 minute.
Recording in progress.
So, hello everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and chumrip suwa. Welcome to our webinar today. Just a gentle reminder, if you need Spanish or French live interpretation, you can log on to the Zoom link that we provide in the comment below for those who are joining via Facebook live event right now. And welcome to our webinar. It is a cross-regional collective effort that WomenStrong Lab partners are doing together. My name is Entrando, the Executive Director of Gender and Development for Cambodia, along with Mr. Greg Locklin, the Deputy Director of Men Stopping Violence, who are the co-chair in this collective effort. Today, would like to welcome you to the 16th day of activism against gender-based violence entitled Of the Sidelines, Men Joining the Global Movement to End Violence Against Women and Girls. As you hear the word global movement, you will be wondering, where is that global movement mean? Well, you will be hearing soon. Don't be eager on this. There will be a speaker from around the globe: Peru, Uganda, Cambodia, Sub-Sahara Africa, and also United States. The purpose of our webinar today will be to get men and boys off the sideline and standing in solidarity with women, girls to end violence against women and girls by listening and sharing of the case study and also practical case that you can practice in your own organization or own country. And also highlight very effective and practical strategy for engaging men and boys used by the community-based organization and also NGO to end violence against women and girls. We would also love to hear from you and also would love to know you more. So those who join us via Facebook Live event, please drop your name and the organization or where you from in the comment below. And those who join us via Zoom link, please update and tell us who you are in the question and answer box. Without further ado, I know you all are waiting to hear from our speaker. I would like to give the floor to our awesome moderator, Monica. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Chandi, and welcome all. My name is Monica Nirabuhawa, the Executive Director of Gallup Initiative Uganda, a WomenStrong partner under the Girls Education and Empowerment Learning Lab. It's my pleasure and honor to be your moderator for this great, long anticipated conversation, men joining the global movement to end violence against women and girls. As we commemorate, as we champion, as we reflect on the 16 days of gender activism, I think as WomenStrong partners, we've come together to recognize that it's very important that men are part of this global movement. Men are part of this conversation. And of course, today I do have a lineup of great partners in the WomenStrong collaborative labs that are coming together to share their insights, their knowledge, their practical experience in engaging men and boys. So we're actually having some fun, some storytelling. So it's not the usual webinar of technical terms. It's a webinar that really you'll be able to hear from people's hearts, people's stories, what their story is. And I'm hoping that all of you tuned in will be able to deepen analysis around engaging men and boys, especially in ending violence against women. And I'm also hoping that you'll be inspired hearing stories from community-based organizations around the world regarding engagement of boys and men in ending violence against women and girls. Without further ado, I would like to push the button back to our our speakers to be able to introduce themselves. And I'll start with Spencer. Please introduce your name and, of course, briefly about the organization where you're coming from.
Morning, everyone. My name is Spencer Murray. I'm from Men Stopping Violence. I'm currently the director of prevention programs at Men Stopping Violence. And just briefly, we're located in Atlanta, Georgia, and we've been engaging and organizing men for about almost 40 years to end violence against women. So I'm glad to be here and looking forward to talking about all the ways we can engage men to get off the sidelines, to do just that, because we know that the effort to end violence against women starts with men. It starts with men and boys. So thank you. Honored to be here.
Thank you, Spencer. Lovely to have you here today. I'll push it over to Paula.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenos días. Muchísimas gracias.
Good morning. Thank you, Monica, for introduction, for the space. Chandy, Spencer, honestly, so happy to be here and spending time with all of you. My name is Paola Salvillas Mende. I'm a co-founder of Visionarias Network in Peru. We are an organization that we are constantly working with our vision of involving teenagers and the young ones for our cause. We want to make them leaders in group leaders for these organizations that we're doing. And honestly, it's a pleasure to be here. And currently, I am in charge of the program of which is like words before action before words. And it's honestly not only that, but I'm also doing two other projects that are specifically regarding the action of how education works in these types of violence. And we believe that education is so important. It's honestly, once again, pleasure to be here. And I'm so excited to do this. And as you keep saying, changing the mindset, sharing anecdotes, and give our knowledge to say what has helped us advance and then what we can provide to others. What are the strategies that really work and that keep working, and what are going to provide us a result that will keep us pushing forward. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. We do have a third speaker from Malí Health, Omo. Is Omo here with us yet? All right. As Omo tries to join us, I'll get a notification. She'll have the chance, of course, to introduce herself. I'll just like to remind all of us that this conversation is live, of course, on Zoom and on Facebook and on Twitter. And of course, our hashtags for this conversation today is hashtag 16 days, hashtag ending VAW. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to join the conversation on Twitter, on Facebook, and also on Zoom as well. And of course, you can follow our partners at Gallup Uganda, at Men Stopping Violence, at Visionaria Network, as we continue to engage in this conversation. Without further ado, I'd like to just, something very interesting about this webinar is that we are going to take you perfect. We did have our third speaker join us right now as she joins this conversation. What is very interesting about this webinar, we did get a chance to hear voices of men across the globe. And just after our third speaker speaking, we'll be able to share with you a video where men from different parts of the world who are partners of WomenStrong International are sharing their voices in terms of what is their pledge in ending violence against women. Welcome, Omo. Maybe you could take it on from there. Please introduce yourself, your name, and briefly about the work you do. Yes. Omo, are you there?
Okay. All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and thank you. It's 2 p.m. over here. I was a bit late. because the meeting was supposed to have started at 2 p.m. over here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Watara Umu. I'm the head of department, health promotion, in charge of communication at Malí Health. Our mission at Malí Health is to improve mother and child health in marginalized communities by providing access to health care. I'm also in charge of prevention of a program, an important program, which is the flag-bearing program of Malí Health. We call it APS, that aims at taking care of children who are in marginalized communities. Those children are aged between 0 and 5 years. So through mentality transformation activities, we engage with communities. We pay visit to parents of children who are marginalized and who are in health crisis, so that we are able to improve on their health situation. In addition to all to that, when Corona came, we were able to organize awareness campaigns in marginalized communities where people don't have access to information. Furthermore, we also have an important activity which is called tea debate. During tea debate, the facilitator talks to a public, mainly men. So during the tea debates, we encourage men to help their women adopt contraceptive methods. So the facilitator explains to men that the mere fact that they prevent their women, their wives, to have access to contraceptive methods is a violence. So we encourage them to help their women, their wives, to adopt one of the various contraceptive methods. We also explain to men the importance and the benefits of family planning. So in a nutshell, this is what we do at Malí Health, in my department. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Umo. So we shall turn, our screens to watch this video from partners of WomenStrong as men in the communities share their perspectives, their pledges in ending violence against women. Anna?
Hola, yo me comprometo a luchar contra los estereotipos de género cuando en mi familia se hagan bromas sobre los roles de género.
We need to take a very strict action against violence against women. By so doing, we need to report the perpetrators of violence against women with disabilities and ensure that action is taken and they are prosecuted for their actions.
Ndiyemeza ko mu biganiro ngiye kujya ntanga bitewe n'aho duhuriye na bagenzi banjye ngomba kujya mbibutsa ndetse nanabaganiriza kandi mbashishikariza kwirinda ingaruka zishobora kuba zihohoterwa rishingiye ku gitsina zikorerwa abagore cyangwa abagabo mu ngi wacu, bitewe n'uko bamwe bazikora batanazi yuko ari ihohoterwa barimo barakora.
Vamos a trabajar con hombres y niños para cambiar las normas y crear un mundo más seguro para las mujeres indígenas rurales.
C'est Dr Bachili Sidi. Je suis particulièrement contre la violence et surtout la violence à l'égard des femmes. Nous avons chacun une sœur, une tante, une mère quelque part. Donc nous n'aimerions pas apprendre qu'elle soit victime d'une violence quelconque. Raison pour laquelle j'exhorte tous les hommes à protéger cette femme. Car la force d'un homme, c'est de donner le sourire à une femme et de maintenir ce sourire jusqu'à son dernier souffle de vie.
As a man and as a peer educator in my community, I commit to creating awareness on the values and the right way to treat women in my community, working together and hand in hand with my fellow men and boys in my community to teach them the appropriate way to treat women and also respectfully live in the same community with them. Thank you.
I commit to organizing with other men to educate the men in our community, to let them know about the prevalence of male violence against women and the fact that it could be over today if we decided it was.
ហើយខ្ញុំជឿជាក់ថាខ្លួនខ្ញុំផ្ទាល់នៅថ្ងៃអនាគតនឹងមិនប្រើប្រាស់អំពើហិង្សាទៅលើបុគ្គលឡើយហើយខ្ញុំសូមសំណូមពរដល់បរិសុទ្ធទាំងឡាយគួរតែបញ្ឈប់ការប្រើប្រាស់អំពើហិង្សាទៅលើក្មេងស្រីនិងស្ត្រី
Thank you so much. Indeed, men around the world, have told us their pledges. I would like you to get into your question and answer box or into your message section and tell us what are you pledging to stop violence against women. Would love to read some of your comments, some of your pledges. What actions are you taking as an individual to end violence against women? So I'll appreciate seeing some messages coming in through the Q&A box on Zoom, and of course through the message section on Facebook and on Twitter. I hope you can join the conversation on the hashtags that we provided. So I would like to see us, engage with the chat box, as I do, of course, invite, our panelists to share their insights, their knowledge. I would like to hear from the audience. What are you pledging to end violence against women and girls? So moving back to our panelists, I'll be starting with you, Paula. As we tell our stories, our authentic stories from the work that we are doing in communities, and I know you work in Peru, what will it take for male leaders to actively engage in creating more peaceful and safer lives for girls and women? Reflect on your work, reflect and just give us a story in terms of what will it take in your own perspective?
Bueno, cuando nos hacemos esta pregunta, ¿no? De qué es necesario, qué va a tomar, qué necesitamos realizar.
When we ask the question, what do we need to do in order to stop violence and to engage the whole community? We're speaking about, of course, violence against women and girls. And many times, in most cases, the perpetrator of violence is the male. The way we tell an anecdote, the way to tell the work we do on the ground. For years, we have been performing a study with the Platform Alliance, which is called Projecting the Future. And our goal was knowing what were the perspectives that we have in the classrooms from the point of view of the teachers and from the point of view of the students in terms of participation and the studies and the ways out professionally. Also speaking about being getting trained and in terms of decision making. A very interesting anecdote in this phase is that we were using the strategy of social voice. This in general, and some of this intends to express and to show what the participants understand through images, through photographs. So one of the ideas or of the objectives was showing through images what was the future that we are projecting for a successful engagement or participation and for a successful representation of the male and the female. We had a professor, he was one of our star professors, and this professor, when he was going to show his images in order to portray a male success story, he was showing, for example, when he was taking pictures of a parade, and he was showing the pictures of how they raised the flag, and those pictures were also showing the moment when a speech was given, all eyes looking at that male who was giving his speech. But however, the images showing success of women were on the parade, and there were specifically pictures of women who were wearing short skirts, very, very short skirts, and more than one representation, more of one iconic representation of how nice it looks, and not necessarily there's some background noise. I don't know if you could fix that. Maybe someone could mute their microphones. Okay, so this anecdote of seeing what is the representation, and as I said, this was a very participative, very engaged professor, and this star professor, we call them early adopters even. They helped us a lot with this project, and he was in favor of equal opportunities, in favor of equality. But when he was going to show something that was physical, such as an image, he understood clearly the difference from what success was for men, which is being the protagonist, being the star, speaking, giving speeches, and what was success for women. They looked good, they looked nice, they looked beautiful. That is the work we do, and I think this is one of the most important pieces of work that we can do, which is starting as a community to identify what are the mindsets, what are the deep-rooted ideas that we have to change. What is the place for men? What is the place for women? And we'll go back to stereotypes, to social constructs that we have made ourselves around gender. So what corresponds to the male, so the authority, the protagonist, and what corresponds to women, which is look nice, looking beautiful. So part of this study, amongst the results that we have performed in the space where we work in Gaika, in Cusco, which is in Peru, and part of the outcomes were this very limited construct of masculinity based or strongly supported and being dominant over other people in physical superiority and in power, and the construct of what's feminine being more shyer, more complacent. So if we go back to the roots, if we analyze the impact that this construct may have, there's a natural construct that has been normalized in reality of what's the role of men, which is protecting, and what is the role of women, which is being protected. So in this power dynamics is where many times violence arises. Why? Because I need to protect you, because I'm the male, and you need to be protected because you are the woman. When we try to respond to the question to what is needed from the work we do at this scenario, we need to understand where our construct, our mindsets, our ideas, our practices come. Where are they coming? How did we learn them? And we need to reflect, we need to analyze in a critical way if these are based on stereotypes, on which stereotypes, which are the rules that have been perpetuated, that have been promoted, these norms, that these gender rules that in the end, as I said, they are the base in many cases of violence at a later stage. So that's from my side.
Thank you so much, Paula, for being so elaborative. I know sharing those deep insights in terms of engagement of men and boys. I think our audience is quite an active one, and we do have pledges from the audience in terms of what they're pledging ending violence against women. We have Brian saying that as a man, I pledge to support I pledge my support to efforts to end GBV. We do have someone from Men Stopping Violence saying that it's so important to talk with men about their role in family planning. I definitely agree. Madhumita says, support men to move out of the men's box. I love that. They are the ones who would champion in pushing the discourse. And that's why we are having this conversation today. Someone from Men Stopping Violence again says, violence against women and girls could be over today if men decide to end it. Absolutely. Men, please, let's end this. Faith says that I pledge to raise my son so that he respects girls and women. Absolutely. It starts from the family. It starts from how we nurture our children. Ray says my pledge is towards safety of girls and women in respective communities. Someone here says, I just love this chat conversation as well. Someone says here, I'm so happy to listen to so many men committing, but I believe that we have to get our boys involved from a very early age so that they can understand that we deserve respect. This, I lost that. My pledge is to, okay, I think I read that. Yeah, so that they can understand that we deserve respect. This way, we can involve families together into this movement. I definitely agree. So many messages coming into that chat. Yes, I'll be getting back to that chat, but I'll move to you, Omo, to our second, panelist in this conversation. Omo, I would like you to share one experience or one example of engaging men and boys to address harmful social norms. In your experience, how have you engaged men and boys to address these harmful social norms? And you could share with us a success story in this regard. Over to you, Omo.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Monica. En fait, ici au Mali.
Thank you, Monica. Here in Mali, to fight against gender-based violence, we've mobilized many men. We call them in Bambara, Cheche, which means in French, committed men. They work in groups. They advocate for the fight against gender-based violence. Here in Mali, when we talk about violence, we talk about early marriage from 13 to 14 years old. Some families agree to marry the young daughters, especially from an early age. So these men are engaged to say no to these early marriages, because when you are 13 or 14, you're not supposed to be married. You're supposed to go to school. We also have mediators, facilitators. This is the case for some men, who beat their wives. So they talk to these men to stop that domestic violence. It's not because she's your wife, for instance, that you have to beat her to the pulp. In addition, we also organize activities in schools with young boys. We teach them how to work with young girls, accept them in their inner circle. We have a couple of activities, the working groups. And when the working group, we invite young girls to join young boys. We've noticed that it's one of our best strategies, because we want to destroy that inferiority or superiority complex. And we've also noticed that young boys always believe that they are superior to young girls. So when we organize these activities, it's a clear way to teach them how it's important to respect human beings. We also organize advocacy campaigns in families, because we've noticed that after school, when they reach home, young girls are supposed to do all the chores, whether they have to clean the house, wash up the dishes, etc. So young boys are sitting idle, doing nothing. So this is also something that encourages and fuels that superiority complex. So we teach parents to treat their children on an equal foot. So if the young girls have to work at home, so are the young boys supposed to do. So if they have to play, both of them have to play. If they have to work, both of them have to work. So we are trying to make sure that that young boy, when he's at that early stage, will learn that women and girls are not inferior. They are just like them. We've noticed that in our society, when we talk about violence, it's always against women. It's very difficult to be against a man, and most of the time men protect their mothers, their sisters, but they do not protect their wives. So this is also very important. They should understand that all women are equal, whether they are your mother or your sister or your wife. So I would like to share a real story. We have a program, Action for Health, APS in French. So this program takes care of, how can I put it? We take care of healthcare bills, we take care of children, and when they are 5 years old, we actually take another child. So it's like a rotation. We ask these families to join another program. We encourage women empowerment. We work with organizations, CBOs, and we ask these parents to join that program once the child reaches 5 years old, so that they keep taking care of the healthcare. So this program helps women to empower them. So they have what we call a self-financing group. So there are savings that they can use. And when we ask them to join those groups, they all agree. But sometimes they want us to talk to their husbands first because they have to get their permission. So back to the real story, we talked to a man. At the beginning, he was not happy. He didn't agree with us. He said we were trying to, destroy his family and so and so. But later on, we convinced him, and his wife joined the self-financing group. After some time, she was able to get some money, and it was a loan. Thanks to that loan, she actually did an activity and earned a revenue from that activity. So she was able to take care of her children, pay the bills, and etc. So one day, instead of going to the self-financing group meetings, she wanted to go to her farm to work. But her husband told her, "Where are you going to?" "Well, I'm going to the farm." But her husband said, "But you're not supposed to go there. You're supposed to join your self-financing group." So she was puzzled. She was like, "You know about my program?" He said, "Yes, of course I know. At the beginning, yes, I was reluctant to allow you to go there, but that was before I knew that this was so important, before I got educated. So I vividly encourage you to go there. I can even go there with you, but I really want you to keep going there." So thanks to these groups, I've noticed that it's not difficult for that man to take care of his family. He considers his wife as his partner on an equal footing, because before joining that group, it was difficult to get both hands meet. It was difficult for me to take care of the family, but I noticed that, well, our children are happy. They're really happy. So in our community, we've noticed that he's our facilitator now. We can organize meetings with other men, and he talks to them. He tries to convince them to allow the wives to join the self-financing groups and even go there with the wives. He's like a counselor, and he actually works for women empowerment. He also encourages men, especially the tough one, to actually join the meetings, educate them, make them understand that this is a real experience. He's been through that, and he's learned a lot. And today we have so many committed men in our action. We really encourage other men to be like that man. For us, it's very difficult, and we really want women to be empowered. We don't want to allow any forms of violence against women. So this is the story I wanted to share with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Umu. And of course, you do shed light that sometimes change, not even sometimes, change actually takes time. And of course, when change happens, it's real sustainable change. So thank you so much, Umu, for sharing with us your experience with your work at Malí Health. I'll move it over to Spencer. Spencer, I know that Men Stopping Violence predominantly works with men, and for the over 30 years that Men Stopping Violence has been in place, would like to hear from you in terms of when engaging men, how it works. Yeah. What have you learned in these years of doing this work? Over to you.
Thank you, Monica. I want to honor too what my sisters Paula and Uma just said. I mean, so much of what they said is aligned with what we do at Men Stopping Violence. And let me say this first in engaging men. There's I heard someone say earlier that men not only need to help, they need to take a leadership role, champion this work of eliminating violence against women. And I came across that quote recently that kind of explains that by Aboriginal activist Lila Watson. If you come to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you have come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let's work together. And I always talk about the importance of men championing this work, because to just come and help sometimes is sometimes as my sister Paula said, that protection that we need to protect you. That is kind of a chivalrous act, and it's still founded in I'm primary and males are primary and women are secondary. Found in that work, but men need to champion that work, and that's where that's the standpoint we come from at Men Stopping Violence. And I heard in the video, the doctor from Malí say all men. And so what we do at Men Stopping Violence, we do prevention work, and we also do intervention work. We do intervention work with men who have shown abusive behavior and have come to us for different reasons. And so we do intervention work with them to kind of transform their thinking and the perceptions of women and some of the roots of violence. And some of that is founded in those constructs you talked about earlier. Colonialism, patriarchy, all those things that teach men to be dominant. They are supposed to be in control, and they are primary, and women are secondary. And also we go out and do this prevention work because we know that although we don't really get into this binary of good men, bad men, because we believe all men have been socialized to believe that, male socialization. But we also know that the ones who are considered good, who don't consider themselves violent, who don't consider themselves, who never had to be in an intervention program, those men need to join as well, all men. need to join this. And so this is why at Men Stopping Violence, we have a community accountability model as well. And so, and it is our effort to involve all men. And so in our intervention classes, for instance, men who are in the class, as part of their 24 weeks in Georgia, the family violence intervention programs, they have to be 24 weeks. And so different states have different standards. Ours is 24 weeks. So at the halfway point and at the end of the 24 weeks, men have to bring in other men from their community to attest to their growth so far, what they've learned so far at a midterm, at the halfway point, and at the end of their 24 weeks. And there's never been a time, and I've been doing the intervention classes for almost 2 years now, where I haven't seen men who come in just from the community, just to be a guest for that particular man who's doing his midterm or doing his final. There's never been a time when I've seen that man not begin to feel those seeds of transformation taking place when they come into that space and begin to look at themselves. And by the time that class is over, those men say, wow, you know, I wish I would have had this teaching when I was a young boy. And I heard us talking about young boys teaching boys. I wish I would have had this teaching a long time ago. All men need this class, not just the ones that we say are involved with the criminal legal system, or not just the ones who've been arrested or, you know, come out of incarceration. But all men need this, because all men have been socialized. And so we know that there's a spectrum of this abusive behavior, controlling behavior, and violence. And most men, one of the challenges is most men believe that violence is just physical. You know, that I haven't been physically violent, and so that's not my issue. I don't do that. That's not me. And at the same time, men ignore their own behavior of being psychologically violent, emotionally violent, financial violence, all those chores at home, taking care of the children, all that. I remember Monica years ago. I was this is when I was working in the public school system in Detroit, and I remember on Fridays, some guys, we used to go out and just you know, kind of just go hang out after work on Fridays. And then you just had some of the same guys who used to go, and we used to just have some fellowship. And this one of my friends said he was very disappointed because he couldn't go this Friday. He couldn't go. He said, I have to babysit my kids. He said, I can't go because I have to babysit my kids. And I thought to myself, wow, that's an interesting thing. These are your children. And you're saying your perception is you have to babysit your children. You can't go. And what he was saying was, what was behind that was that it's really my partner's job or my wife's job to take care of the children, but I have to do it today. And so I can't go with you, you know? And so it's these deeply embedded beliefs about roles of women and men and all those things. And so, so we go out and do this prevention work, and Men Stopping Violence is going into schools and faith communities. We talked about that as well. So there's one story, one great story. There's many, but I can think of one man who came to our class several months ago. He finished class now. And the transformation with him was just amazing. And he was a pastor. He was a pastor of a church, assistant pastor or associate pastor. And he was separated from his wife at the time. And, you know, he came in and he was very transparent, open as he went through the class, open and transparent, and just, he would cry oftentimes as he began to open up and see how he's been socialized to believe certain things about women. I mean, he was very much one that you could just see this transformation work happening right before your eyes. And he became a leader in the class, actually. But when it came time for him to invite two men to the class when he was doing his final, he actually invited his the senior pastor of his church, because he had, in the meantime, while he was going through class, he could not be part of the church and do his duties in the church. That was, you know, so he brought his senior pastor, and he also brought his father-in-law, who was also a pastor of another church. His father-in-law, who's the father of his wife, who he committed this violence against. And so it was just, I really don't have enough words to explain the power of that space right there where the father-in-law was hearing, because what a man has to do during his final is he really has to account for his, we say his worst incident of violence, right? The incident that brought him to, like, he has to give account of that. So he has to talk about what he said and what he did toward his wife, all those things in detail. And he had to do that while his father-in-law was there. And when it came time to bring their voices in, his father-in-law didn't know some of the details that happened with him and his daughter. But the healing that took place in that space, and the growth that took place in the space, it was just amazing for us as instructors and all the other men in the class to witness what was going on. And then at the end, for those guests, the father-in-law and the senior pastor from the church, to say that we want Men Stopping Violence to bring your programs to our church, because what goes on in here, all men need to know about that. And so we know that most men, we come in knowing that many men are not accustomed to being vulnerable. You know, they're used to suppressing their feelings. They've been taught that male socialization says that. So we know those are things we know when men come into the space. And so what we do is kind of invite them in. You heard me say earlier, we don't separate good men from bad men. So our community accountability model is one in which if men get involved and if the community gets involved, then we can lessen the chance or the sole reliance on the criminal legal system to be involved. You know, if the community gets involved, and we can go to these faith communities or schools and say, hey, listen, if you know someone who can benefit from our classes, send them. These are community referrals. Send them to our class. Send them to our intervention class, and we can interact with the men and transform the men there. But it is a community accountability model, and if we can inspire more men and invite more men in there to know that their liberation is indeed tied up with the liberation of women, to see how as men that they've also been damaged by this male socialization, by this colonization, by colonialism, that violence towards self, that oftentimes men won't even acknowledge because of their socialization, is often directed at the ones who are closest to them, their spouse, women, and particularly faith communities. That's a whole nother story, getting to, you know, those belief systems that come out of the faith community as well. So all this transformational work we do, but that community accountability model is really key to what we do. It is the foundation of all of our work. But we believe men need to champion this movement, because as someone said in one of the comments, it could end if men are the primary perpetrators, and men can end this. And so we will continue to do this work. We will continue to do this work with you and champion the work and do that. But yeah, that's what we do, and it's great work. It's challenging, but it's worthwhile, and it's life-giving. So
thank you so much, Spencer. You speak with so much passion, optimism, that indeed men need to be champions. We need to get men off the sidelines. Men need to be part of this movement if we are to address the issues around socialization. And of course, parents equally need to take the mantle. Mothers, as we raise our children, as we raise our boys, fathers, what are we telling them? Are we telling them to suppress their feelings, or are we grooming our children to appreciate that they are human beings? It's okay for a man to cry. It's okay for a man to ask for help. I think it's important that even as, community actors, even for us, leaders of organizations, it's important that we begin to question our own biases, our own stereotypes, our own programming. How are we engaging men? What lens are we having for boys and men? And how best can we be able to move the needle?
Yes.
But again, we can't move the needle in addressing violence against women without men in the equation. So thank you so much, Spencer. Paula, your hand is up. Paula?
Sí, quería...
Yeah, I just wanted to add just a little bit in relation to what you just said. Not so much on the feelings, but it's really linked to this. And we have seen that it has been normalized, or at least it's considered normal, that emotions and expressing our emotion, it's something that is relative to femininity. And we see that this is something that is actually so brave to do. This requires a lot of energy. And I consider that it's so interesting that as a society, we have made this dichotomy of, if we talk about our feelings, or if we talk about our feelings as it's something that you're doing too much on your feminine side. And we see how we have this juxtaposition of courage and feelings. And I think that talking about our feeling is actually something that's so courageous to do. And these are characteristics that we have separated, and instead of seeing the good factor of it, we only attribute it to like one side, the feminine side, instead of seeing it from the person itself. We see that as humans, we have two sides, and both sides are equal value. And we're not only talking about feelings, we're talking about the courage and being able to talk about our feelings, not just something feminine. It's the entire encompass of work that we're doing to be brave enough. And we see that a complete person need to be able to do this. We have to be able to use our bravery in order to share these emotions. And I see that because of how we see the world right now, we don't see the importance of doing this, and we deconstruct the actual value of what we're saying. And this is something that is gonna relate to how we can stop violence. We see that it's, as you said, not just physical, it's so much more than that. So I think that I wanted to add that. I think that it's very important, as you mentioned, there's so much value in saying this thing. The participation of you, Spencer, was amazing. That passion that you shared, that commitment that you really demonstrate, I feel that that's what needs to be done. It's so brave to do the things that you said. So.
Thank you so much, Paula, for the submission. We do have, great speakers, a great audience, and there's so much feedback coming through the Q&A, and I would love to read some of this feedback for us because people are already participating. And as you participate, again, I do have a question for all our people in the audience. What have you learned from these stories? Paula's shared a story, Omar's shared a story, Spencer's shared a story in terms of engaging men and boys. What have you learned? Please use the Q&A box, use the chat function in the Facebook Live and tell us, what have you learned and what are you teaching us? Please share your views. I would like to read, a few messages coming in from our audience, both on Zoom and on Facebook, which is so exciting that we are having a conversation, but the world is having this conversation right now. I just want to scroll. It's so exciting. Someone here says that, Brian says that we need to understand the sociological questions around family planning and how violence is used as a weapon to control reproductive health choices and behaviors of women. So let's re-examine socio-cultural issues. Absolutely, I agree. Madhumita says, how are we addressing power imbalances? Having discussion around positive power is very important. Yes, Madhumita, that's very right. Someone else says that, thank you, Paula, for naming the land male expectation and power dynamics as sources of violence against women. Someone says that, apologies, I can't stay long, okay? But super proud of all the panelists and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for the compliment. Someone here says that, I love these comments, keep us going. It's just a testament that this conversation has been long overdue. Someone says that women worldwide should have the right to choose who to marry and when to get married. Indeed, if we are to address issues of violence against girls and women, oh my goodness, so much feedback coming in. The second largest employment sector in Uganda is transport, which is fully operated by men. There is a need to work closely in partnership with transport sectors as an intervention against insecurities on girls while on transit for various reasons. I agree. Wow, so much feedback. Someone from Men Stopping Violence says that we observe that even young boys believe that they are superior to young girls. Thank you for changing the narrative, Malí Health. Okay, thank you. There is just so much feedback. I just, look at that Facebook, live event and just follow the conversation on Twitter. This is so much love. Let me read one more before we proceed. Kevin says, cultural institutions too can play a significant role if partnerships within them are carefully started and sustained. Yes. Chisina says that religious leaders can serve as a political influence to address violence against women and girls. What can we do to engage them effectively? That's a great question that Chisina, asks, that what can we do to effectively influence cultural leaders to be part of this conversation? Oh my goodness. Madhumita here says, we should work to move beyond paternalism and protectionism and address the cultural issues of power. I agree. Wow. There's just so much feedback into this conversation. To our audience, I want you to tell us what you've learned from these stories. What are the lessons that you need us to know in terms of engaging men and boys? I know some of you who are listening in, who are part of this conversation, actually engage men and boys. What have you learned along the journey? I'll move back to our speakers, and this time to Umo. I know there was a question in the chat. How effectively can we work with cultural and religious leaders to be part of this movement? The fact that for most of our communities, it's the men who are the majority of the cultural and religious leaders. And this conversation is around getting them off the sidelines to be part of this global movement. In your experience, Umo, what can we do to effectively engage cultural and religious leaders in ending violence against women?
Okay, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. In order to count on the transformative participation, I think we should first of all understand that this is a very sensitive topic, because traditional and religious leaders are considered as leaders. They have a lot of influence. They are what we call nowadays influencers. And I think that if we really want to reach our goal, we need their support. And if they want to work with us, we should count on their participation and educate them first. Most of the time, they think that our work is associated with rebellion because they believe that, well, women want to topple down men, etc., take the seats, and we really need to educate them first, convince them that what we are doing is very important, make them understand that we are not here to replace you, we don't need your seat, we're here because we want to fight against GBV. We need their support. So at the beginning, we need to educate them. As long as they do not understand what we are doing, as long as they're not part of our movement, this is going to be a useless fight, especially in Mali, because we need the support. We need the support from traditional and religious leaders. So we have to talk to them on a regular basis. I repeat, we're not here to fight against any religions because each religion has its values. But I believe that we can work together to fight against GBV. We are here to support them. We are not here to compete with them. And I believe that if we want leaders to join our movement, they should understand what we do on the field. And we are here to fight against violence. We want a level playing field, a safe space for women and men, so as to develop our world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Umo. Indeed, we are not here to replace the spaces for men. No, we are here to have a conversation. We are here because we know that we need each other for more sustainable community transformation. We need each other to ensure that we raise families that are free from violence. We raise girls and boys free from violence. So we are not here to take over the space for men, but we are here to have a conversation that benefits all of us as actors in the communities. I'll push it back to Spencer. There is this analogy that when engaging with men and boys, it's important that the conversation is actually led by men. What are your thoughts in regards to the fact that I know that for so much of social empowerment work, you find that there are so many women doing a lot of social empowerment work. And this is a conversation around men. And there is an analogy that in order to transform the men need to be speaking to the men. What are your thoughts?
I do think there's a place for that. Whether it's unfortunate or fortunate, men listen to other men, and boys tend to listen to men. I think initially that may be true. At the same time, as we evolve and we call people into transformation and involvement, then we have to center the voices of women as well. And so I think, part of men's, they're called to listen. But I think initially it is going to take men, it takes for me or Greg or other to speak with other men about that. But those men too have to be healed first. So before, healing others, you have to heal yourself. And so, when I talk about the 24-week class, Greg and I, or anybody who works at Men Stopping Violence has gone through that class, and so we've also experienced that. And so now we can draw other people in. And our belief is men who've gone through our 24-week program, because when they finish the program, they're not finished with the work. That's only the beginning, right? They just finished the class, but they need to stay involved as well. And they can be the best messengers to go out and talk to other men. So that is that is true in a sense. As men evolve, my hope is that, and our hope is that we listen to all voices that are calling us to do that. And I wanted to say this real fast because I was so enthused by what Paola was saying too about this whole masculine and feminine piece in the roles. You know, when you think about young boys who are not accustomed to accessing those emotions or your emotional IQ or your feelings and used to suppressing them. You know, I mean, that duality and dichotomy is drawn early when you have a young boy who's 6 years old. And I think certainly in my case, right, as a young boy, 6 and 8 years old, boys kind of freely express their emotions. They cry, they do all that until they come into a room and someone says, hey, stop that crying. Men aren't supposed to cry. Boys aren't supposed to cry. I want you to be mama's big boy. I want you to do this. And the boy doesn't have the wherewithal to really know how to interpret that message. He just knows I feel something and I've been told to suppress it. That's it. That's all he's been taught. And so he grows up into a young man, a man, and then you have all this socialization that's added to it. So he suppresses his very humanity, not knowing that a holistic person has masculine and feminine quality, that both of those exist in us. And so, but a boy learns to suppress his what is considered to be feminine. And in doing so, he suppresses his own humanity. And it's almost like a self-hatred that boys tend to grow up. And if they do anything that mirrors what they consider to be feminine, like women, they talk about each other. They commit violence to one another. You know, they ostracize each other. Anybody who's outside of that norm, and so that happens early. And so because of that, again, coming full circle back to what you're saying, you know, yeah, it takes from men who've experienced that, who know that and know the pain of that. You know, the internal pain and the pain that that has been committed against girls and women, whether it be emotional or you know, this control and you know, controlling behavior, all that. But it takes men to really call other men to that, because boys do listen to men, and men do listen to other men. And then I think they can be primed to be in spaces where they can hear better the voices of women, and they can be ready to do something about it and join this, you know, because they know that, again, that all of our liberation is caught up together. So yeah, but yeah, boys and men initially will listen to boys and men have to be involved in that.
Thank you so much, Spencer. I'll move over to you, Paola. You know, any learnings in doing this work, in engaging men and boys in your program, any learnings that you want to share with us?
Sí, me parece que, bueno, aprendizajes hay muchísimos.
Well, I think there are many types of learnings. I think that in this work, one learns in terms of organization, one learns about teamwork, about their own person. Then we also learn how to approach different actors of the community. So I feel that there are many types of learnings. One type of learning that defines my way of working and defines the way my team works is this notion that from education, as Spencer was saying, we socialize. We are social beings, and we have many spaces on which we socialize who we are, who we must be, and regarding to our context as well. So I think that one of the key learnings is to acknowledge that it is not about being the good one or the bad one. It is about identifying critically what have we learned, how did we socialize, because I feel that many times this conversation is relevant and is interesting and valuable, and because we're speaking about how to engage men and boys in this space, and we are 4 women and there's 1 man. So I think it's interesting too I think it's important to start this conversation, to continue with this conversation as well, and to understand that at least in our context in Latin America, we're not attacking, we're not fighting, we're not going against you, but we're speaking about liberation. My liberation is your liberation, is something that's more holistic. When we speak about engaging men, about stopping violence, we're not telling you as an individual that you are violent. We're saying that we live in a society that's made in many different ways and with many social constructs. So the learning is stopping or establishing this concept very clearly, which is deconstructing, questioning the socialization that we've had, what we've learned, what are our expectations on me as a woman, on you as a man, and also keeping this critical questioning of what's expected of you. Is this possible? Is this necessary? What is expected of me? Is this possible? Is it necessary? And we can start questioning, and we can start to dig. We can start to question these power dynamics, which in the end lead to many cases of violence. So I think it's a learning. If I can share my learning on how I manage, how I guide my team in this work we do of empowering women, of departing from education, it's this need of understanding the terms, understanding that this is about questioning our socialization, our learnings, and norms, roles, rules have been established many years ago when they have made sense many years ago, but today there are many roles, many rules, many stereotypes and ideas that don't apply anymore to our reality. These limitations don't apply anymore. So I feel that we need to develop this ability of critically questioning where these beliefs come from, where these misconducts come from, and start eliminating or removing anything that doesn't apply anymore. And if my belief as a person is that you can't do this because you're a woman, you can't do this because you're a man, this is limiting, this is not useful anymore. So we need to do this critical questioning, not to the individual, and we also have to share with men that they are part of this journey. It's not against you, I'm not attacking you, but we are doing teamwork, we're working together in order to pursue our freedom as a group, as an individuals.
Thank you so much, Paula. So insightful. I think what I get out of this conversation is that as we engage men and boys into the conversation, there's so much we need to learn and learn in order to evolve. Because we need to evolve to make sure that this movement is actually actualized. So it's important to learn and learn for us to evolve. So thank you so much, the great panelists. I'll get back to our, our audience in terms of what they are learning from this conversation. And Madhumita says that the work with men needs to recognize how patriarchy implicates them and makes them accountable. Indeed. Someone says that talking about feelings is courageous. Yes. Thank you for this conversation. We need to deepen the family planning dialogue into our communities. Someone says, I have learned that we need more male engagement projects focusing on gender issues. In terms of learning, what I've learned is that we are all battling similar issues in our communities. Most importantly, we are not just idling around. Most importantly, we are not just idling around someone to end GBV. So many comments coming through the chat. You can look at the chat. I'll read one more before we move back to our panelists. Do not engage men in your program so they can save women. Engaging with men and boys as part of an ecological, sorry, I think she's saying that we shouldn't just involve men because it's the norm, but let's engage men as part of the ecological model to addressing, the underlying issues that continue to perpetuate violence against women and girls. Yes, so much feedback coming in. Men listen to other men. Men listen to other men. Okay, I'll leave that at that. Yes, so there's just so much feedback that you can take time and read. And of course, like I said, that this conversation is helping us learn and learn in order to evolve as we work towards ensuring that men are off the sidelines. They are part of the conversation as part of the ecological model, just like someone in the Q&A, as submitted. I would like to invite Chandi to share with us, as partners of WomenStrong, we do have a call to action. As we commemorate the 16 days of gender activism, we do have a call to action and a few tips that we believe the bigger community can, appreciate and be able to use in their work as you engage men and boys. Over to you, Chandi.
Thank you so much, Monica. Wow, it's such a very, very rich discussion. I learned so much, and I am so happy to hear all of this thing. Well, before going to this, I would like us who's joining us in the Zoom and also in the Facebook Live right now to take a moment, like just a deep breath, absorb of what we are listening, absorb of what we have learned, and ask yourself, as an individual man or individual persons, what have you done to safer communication for all, especially to end violence against women and girls in your community? What have you done? Okay. I hope that deep breath can give you some of the reflections regarding of what you have done to safer the community for all, to end violence against women and girls in your community. So I would like to share with you the tips, the call for actions that have been developed by 19 partners of Women Lab and who are working in 16 different countries. Can you believe this? Like 16 countries working together to have this kind of actions that is very practical, that everyone can do. When we ask, like, how can we end violence against women and girls? Like we heard from our panelists sharing the story, these are always very amazing. But right now, let's look at something that you can do, very practical. First, we ask you to listen to female voice around you. You can take a moment to connect and listen to all the girls and women in your life. Okay? Not always assume that you know things. Don't do mansplaining so much. Don't assume that you know more than women. Just listen for a while, then you can learn and hear. Maybe in the sharing, they told you some of the violence against women and girls or violence that happening in their life. Because listening is the first step to understand. And yes, it is the key and the core things to do to end violence against women and girls. Second, learn by unlearning. Spencer, Paula, Umo share so much about the unlearning. Like there are so many things to be unlearned. Violence is not only the physical, like because gender-based violence include emotional, sexual, economic, spiritual, and reproductive abuse and coercion. Those kind of things you need to unlearn. Third, look in the mirror. Look in the mirror right now, but not in the mirror. Ask who should stop violence against women and girls. I know you're gonna say you, yeah, me. Me. Start from me. The fruit of culture, and it is very impossible if you do not change from within, from believing that the gender norm that you are doing right now is the root cause of doing violence against women and girls. So start changing from that. Change your context. Fourth, connect and reflect. Somehow it is very hard for you to get criticism from peers, but please take that moment, that criticism, as the opportunity for you to change, to self-assessment, to reminder of your commitment, because they have been there with the women, resisted that. The work of ending violence against women and girls result in self-respect and respect to others. And like Monica shared, there are so many things to learn and learn to involve. Speak for accountabilities. Ending violence against women and girls is about taking actions. It wasn't me, doesn't cut it anymore. When you witness other men or boy disrespect women or girls, say something. Like Umo say something. If you see it, don't keep silent. If you keep silent, you are a part of a predator. You are a part of not moving toward gender equality, not a part of ending violence against women and girls. So as an individual and a leader, a partner, a man, a diverse man in the community, use your platform, talk to your peers, address your congregations, and saying something to another man is an act of care. Yeah, if you believe that men only listen to men or boy only listen to boys, but they have to heal first. So in order to help other men to stop violence against women and girls, talk to each other, share to each other, and your act is act of care. Last but not least is advocate individually and join the movement. Join forces with the women-led organization and women rights movement in your community. Because we need you, we need individual of you. Without your engagement, ending violence against women and girls is the non-stop pathway to do. Like one of the participants in our live today, they say, stop violence against women right now, period. So I call for you to stand out, be a change agent, and take action to end violence against women and girls. This is all for actions now. You also can find these tip sheets in Spanish, French, and English from the WomenStrong page, and also from our partner, the 19 partners that you can see in the screen. Thank you so much again to Greg, to Paula, Umo, to Spencer, to Monica, to Michelle, to Charity, to Chisena, to Hannah. Like all of you are doing, forget sleeping and eating just only to make that event happen. And also the tips, it is very great. Thank you so much. Back to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, and indeed it's been a great morning, a great evening, a great afternoon, and great audience, great speakers, great panelists. I mean, it's been months or weeks of planning, and indeed we all didn't disappoint each other. The conversations on the Facebook Lives have been great. The story sharing process has been great. So much has been learned. Like we said, it's time to learn, unlearn, for us to evolve if we are to, bring men into this conversation. And I think what touched me most was the social accountability. Very, very important as we look at engaging men and boys. And of course, the ecological model in terms of we shouldn't just be running to engage men and boys. We should have a theory of change. Why are we engaging men and boys in our programs? There should be something that influences or informs our intervention. So again, we had 90 minutes. I'd like to thank you all. In the chat box, in the next 2-3 minutes, what is your pledge? As we celebrate the 16 days of ending violence against women and girls, what is your pledge as a cultural leader, as a religious leader, as a leader of an organization, as a staff in an organization. I want to see that chat box, telling us, some of your thoughts around what is your pledge, just one word in ensuring that we end violence against women. Yes, someone says here that what a great discussion. We need to have parenting models in communities to sensitize parents, since parents provide children with their first lesson on gender. Absolutely clear, right on, yes. What are the rest saying? What is your pledge as we conclude this conversation? Of course, as the pledges come, someone says, I pledge to raise a boy child who respects women. Thank you so much, Jen. Indeed, it starts from the family before we can even, raise men. It starts with the children. Thank you so much, Jen. I would like to appreciate WomenStrong Fraternity for trusting us as partners to have this conversation. This conversation was curated, planned by partners, of course, with the technical support of WomenStrong International. Thank you so much, WomenStrong International, for believing in us as partners, for building our capacity, and for putting us at the front line of this work. Ensuring all of us shine from Uganda, from Cambodia, from Peru, from the US, from Malí, from Afghanistan, and all the other parts of the world where WomenStrong operates. So thank you again. Keep the conversation going. Of course, the conversation continues on our social media handles at WomenStrong International and all the social media handles of the speaker organizations. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you so much and have a great morning, a great evening, and thank you for being part of us today. Bye.